Okay, so picture this. You're at the Atlanta airport. It's a snowy morning, which is already kind of unusual for Atlanta, right?
Yeah, not exactly typical.
No, not at all. And you're getting ready to fly to Minneapolis.
Okay.
Delta flight 2668.
Sounds pretty routine.
You would think, right?
Yeah.
But we've got some wild news reports and even firsthand accounts
Oh, wow.
of how this totally normal flight turned into a crazy emergency.
I'm intrigued what happened.
We're talking an aborted takeoff engine trouble, and then an evacuation onto a snowy tarmac.
Whoa, hold on. So a snowy evacuation in Atlanta, that's a story.
You better believe it.
Yeah.
So are we ready to dive into this thing?
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
All right, so this Boeing 757, it's speeding down the runway.
Okay.
Gets up to like 100 miles per hour. I mean, that's moving.
Yeah, you're really picking up speed at that point.
And all of a sudden, bam, engine issue.
Oh, no.
Now, one passenger, Curtis James, he actually said he saw the engine catch fire.
Seriously, fire.
Yeah, pretty scary stuff.
Bro.
But officials hadn't confirmed a fire, at the time.
Right, so it's all happening so fast. You got to think about it, though. Aborting takeoff at that speed is a last resort.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a split-second decision for the pilots.
Yeah, they've got to weigh the risks.
Right. What's riskier, continuing with a potential engine failure or slamming on the brakes at 100 miles an hour?
Talk about pressure.
Huge pressure.
So I've got to ask, what kind of engine problems would even cause something like this?
Well, with the 757, a few things come to mind.
Oh, wait on me.
It could be something like a compressor stall, where the airflow in the engine gets disrupted. Or maybe foreign object damage, FOD we call it, could be a bird strike.
Oh, right, a bird strike.
Yeah, or a fuel system malfunction, or even some mechanical issue inside the engine itself.
So many possibilities.
Yeah, and each one would need a different response from the pilots.
So they're dealing with this potential engine failure, making these huge decisions in like seconds.
Right.
And to make matters worse, it's snowing in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Like I said, not exactly typical.
Nope. And the airport was already a mess.
I bet.
Over 400 flights canceled that day because of the weather.
Wow, so you've got this added pressure of low visibility, right?
Yeah.
Potentially slippery runways.
It's a recipe for chaos.
It is. And all those disruptions that come with a major weather event at a busy airport, I mean...
It's hard enough to travel as it is.
For sure.
But thankfully, we actually have some visuals of what happened next.
Oh, really?
Yeah. A passenger, Allison Wade, she filmed the evacuation.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. And in the video, you can see the emergency slides deployed.
Okay.
People are scrambling out onto this snowy tarmac.
Gotcha.
And there's smoke billowing from the plane.
That's wild.
It's a pretty dramatic scene.
I can only imagine. But it's amazing to me.
What's that?
Is that the evacuation itself seems to have gone pretty smoothly.
You know what? You're right.
Especially considering it was a full flight.
Yeah, over 200 passengers plus crew.
That's a lot of people to get off a plane quickly and safely in those conditions.
Absolutely. It really highlights how important those pre-flight safety briefings are.
Oh, totally. And the training of the flight attendants, too.
Yeah, they need to be ready to handle any situation.
They do. They have to guide passengers quickly and safely, even in those tough conditions.
No doubt. Unfortunately, though, there were a few minor injuries.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, 4 reported, and 1 passenger had to be taken to the hospital.
That's never good. But honestly, given the circumstances,
I agree.
It really speaks to the effectiveness of those emergency procedures and how professional the crew was.
Yeah, that those injuries weren't more serious.
Exactly.
And Delta, of course, they put out a statement
I figured they would.
saying that the crew followed all the standard procedures in stopping the takeoff after they got that engine issue indication.
Right. The engine issue indication.
Now, what exactly does that mean?
Well, it's a pretty general term.
Okay.
Could be a warning light, a gauge reading, or even just an unusual sound that alerts the pilots to a potential problem.
So it's not one specific thing.
Not really. No.
Yeah.
In modern aircraft, like the 757, they have these sophisticated systems to monitor engine performance.
They're so advanced these days.
They are, and they're designed to give pilots early warnings so they can take action if something's up.
So it's like a general heads up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, hey, something might be wrong here.
Got it.
And in this case, it was enough for the pilots to make that call to abort the takeoff.
A critical decision for sure.
Absolutely.
Now, the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, and the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, they're both investigating, right?
Oh, yeah. That's standard procedure after an incident like this.
What kind of things are they looking into?
Everything. They'll look at the maintenance records of the aircraft,
Okay.
The pilot's actions, the weather conditions,
Right.
recordings of what was going on in the cockpit.
They have those.
Oh, yeah. And the data from the flight recorders, the black boxes.
Oh, yeah, right? I always forget about those.
Everything gets recorded. They'll try to piece together exactly what happened and why.
It sounds incredibly complex.
It can be. But this incident, it really makes you think about everything that goes on behind the scenes of even a simple flight.
It really does. There's so much we take for granted as passengers.
I know, right?
It's a whole other world up there in the cockpit.
And it shows how crucial it is for everyone involved.
I agree.
Pilots, crew, air traffic control.
Yeah, everyone's got to be on their A game.
Exactly. Everyone has to be prepared for anything.
Because even though flying is statistically very safe...
It is, statistically speaking, it's one of the safest ways to travel.
Yeah, but there's always that element of risk.
Always. You can't completely eliminate it.
So, for everyone listening, the next time you're on a plane, maybe take a moment to think about all those procedures and systems that are working to keep you safe.
It's a marvel of engineering, really.
It is. And, maybe give a little nod of appreciation to the crew.
Oh, for sure. They're the real heroes up there.
They are trained to handle these crazy situations.
And they do it with incredible skill and professionalism.
Really puts things in perspective.
It does. And remember, even though these incidents make the news...
They do. They're scary.
They are. But they're still relatively rare.
That's good to hear.
And that's because of the strict safety standards.
And the people who work hard to keep everything running smoothly.
Absolutely. Those folks in the aviation industry, they deserve a lot of credit.
Well, this deep dive definitely gave me a new perspective.
I'm glad to hear that.
Thanks for breaking it all down for us.
My pleasure. Always happy to talk about aviation safety.
Until next time, then.
Sounds good.
Safe travels, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.